Humanity occupies a world defined by labels. We seek to categorize the uncomfortable so that the weight of its implications might be lessened. In the 41st millennium, a word has been found for this nightmare. Grimdark. We treat it as a styler collection of skulls, Gothic cathedrals, and rain-slicked armor. We look at the Golden Throne, a monument of agonizing decay, and we appreciate its aesthetic. To call this reality an aesthetic is a collective defense mechanism. It allows the mind to look at the visceral horror of the far future and pretend it remains a choice of color. Yet, the shadows of the Imperium are not painted for amusement. They exist as the natural consequence of a universe where the light of reason has been extinguished. Juan Gazis. Upon the Emperor, this rotting carcass of a god one does not witness art. One witnesses the final, desperate logical conclusion of a species that refused to go extinct. The Grimdark does not exist as a coat of paint. It remains the raw, exposed nerves of a civilization that has stripped away the skin of morality. It is the sound of a billion voices screaming into a void that does not listen. If beauty is found within this darkness, it is only because the realization has not yet dawned that the darkness is looking back, calculating our worth as fuel. Existence in the modern age is built upon the fragile myth of progress. We are fed the delusion that suffering is a mistake, a bug in the code of evolution. We believe that death remains an intruder to be negotiated with. Warhammer does not stand as grim because it rejects these comforts. It stands as honest because it knows they were never real. In the cold, airless halls of the Imperium, no room remains for the lie of human rights. There is only the requirement of the blood debt. Honesty in this era is the admission that every second of human survival is paid for in the currency of souls. We do not hide our massacres behind corporate slogans or political jargon. We build them into the very architecture of our throne world. The machine of the Imperium offers no apology for the blood on its gears. It offers no right to the mother whose child is taken by the black ships. It simply presents the requirement. The Astronomicon requires 1,000 psychers today. It will require 1,000 more tomorrow. Such is the honesty of the void. It is a utilitarian nightmare where the individual is nothing and the species is everything. To call this evil is a luxury for those who do not have to keep the darkness at bay. The universe itself merely calls it necessary. A profound, unsettling reason exists for why the lore of the 41st Millennium resonates so deeply. It is not the thrill of the bolter or the scale of the starship. It is because Warhammer feels more real than the sanitized world humanity currently inhabits. It taps into a primal memory, the knowledge that we are small. We are fragile, and the shadows are hungry. Modernity hides its sacrifices. We distance ourselves from the cost of our comforts. But the Imperium is honest about the price. The Golden Throne sits as the heart of human civilization, and it remains a scene of industrial-scale torture. Is visible, is central. It is the rotting center of a failing empire that refuses to die. This hyperreality reflects the truth of power, that all empires are built on bone, and all light requires something to be burned. When we look at the Emperor, we do not see a fictional character. We see a mirror of our own history, stripped of its excuses. we see the terrifying truth that beneath our laws and our civility, there exists only a mountain of souls spent so that we may stand for one more hour. This universe does not look away from the cost. It requires humanity to stare at it until the eyes bleed. There exists a common belief that hope serves as a shield. We cling to it as if it could protect us from the inevitable. But in the 41st millennium, hope is often the most dangerous weapon in the arsenal of the enemy. It is the bait on the hook of chaos, the delusion that leads humanity into the jaws of the abyss. There comes a moment when the illusion collapses, and the realization begins to dawn that true mercy is found not in hope, but in acceptance. When one begins to realize that the Astronomicon is not a light of salvation, but a scream of eternal agony, a strange freedom emerges. The search for a savior who will never come finally ends. The demand for a peace that the Emperor cannot give finally ceases. Humanity accepts the scream as the ambient noise of existence. This is the ultimate honesty of the Grimdark. It clarifies our position. We are components in a dying engine. A cold, terrifying clarity follows this realization. When hope is removed, fear loses its grip. When the worst is understood to be happening every millisecond of every day, the struggle for meaning ends, and the struggle for existence begins. We are no longer people. We are a defiance. We are candles flickering in a hurricane, knowing we will be extinguished, yet burning because it remains the only thing left to do. One should not seek an escape in these stories. These cathedrals of bone are not merely a game. What this reality requires of humanity is to stand in the shadow of the throne and admit that the darkness is more honest than the light. Warhammer does not exist as a warning of what might. It remains a reflection of what always was. It is the human condition, stripped of its vanity, leaving only the bare, white bone of a desperate, irrational will to survive. We are the architects of this broken god. We are the fuel for this celestial scream. Grimdark is not it. It is the end of all lies. It is the realization that in a galaxy of 100 billion stars, the only thing that matters is the honesty of the blood humanity is willing to spill to keep the dark at bay for one more night.